What is going on, Colts Nation? He is Jamal, and I'm Eric, your co-host of the Colts Cast.
Yo, yo.
The 5-7 Indianapolis Colts, who are still in the hunt for a playoff spot, are on the road Sunday to take on the New England Patriots. December 1st at 1 p.m. Eastern. The Colts are in a peculiar situation. The playoffs seem like a reach at this point, with 7-win teams ahead of us locking up the wild card spots. Then we also have the Dolphins ahead of us who have one less loss, even though we beat them. But, the other hand is saying the Colts have one of the easiest schedules remaining. We got the Patriots, Broncos, Titans, Giants, Jaguars. Jamal, tell me this isn't a perfect recipe for a mediocre draft pick and the Colts barely missing the playoffs.
It really is. And for one, you know what? Hit that like and subscribe button and drop a comment below. Let us know how you feel about the Colts being in this position because I'm curious to know. Because I'm gonna tell you all straight up, like I've said 110 times before. Yeah, I don't care about the playoffs. I don't want to hear. I mean, like I know people can kind of ride that high right now because like, oh, we can still have like some happiness behind it. To me, getting to the playoffs, being at this 500, sub 500, or just above 500 with a shoddy pick, I don't care about that. Like it doesn't ring bells in my ear. So while I'm happy that we have an easy schedule again to continue to develop in, I am not even remotely thinking about the playoffs and what they entail
Yeah.
because, like you mentioned, all that means for us is another shoddy draft pick, and not a shoddy draft pick, but a mediocre year, and then a mid round draft pick, and we go back to where we've been all year, all 8 years.
Yeah, it's harder to find. I would say we have a higher chance at getting the better player in the draft with a higher draft pick, or we can use that draft pick as arsenal to acquire another player, more draft picks, things like that. We just have more flexibility in that aspect. If we're gonna be bad, we need to be bad.
Agreed.
But the New England Patriots, they aren't contending either. They're rebuilding. Their fans love Drake Maye, though I will say, they were down against the Dolphins like 35 points or something, and they scored their first touchdown of the game, and the Patriots they panned the camera. The Patriots fans in the crowd, they were going crazy. They saw that glimmer of hope. Yeah, I mean they love Drake Maye. They like what he's doing, and that's kind of the same situation that the Colts are in. Like we love seeing Anthony Richardson on the field, good or bad, essentially. But when the highs are there, when he hits those highs, like we're excited. I would say that'd be different, for them playing like Jacoby Brissett. Same with us playing Joe Flacco. Like it's just different. There's that hope for the future that we can be, a top notch team. But I will say I'm happy with Anthony Richardson's development so far. Ever since his benching, he's just looked like a dramatically better quarterback when you're watching him. Even the accuracy I think has gotten better. So I expect Steichen against the Patriots to continue to use, Richardson's athleticism to his advantage and a variety of schemes to try to overload the Patriots. I'll say just please no more flea flickers at this point in time. I think we're out the door with with that one. But I really think one of the keys to this game is to get this early down offense rolling. As Indianapolis, they rank in the bottom half of the NFL in third down conversion. But last week we only converted 25% of those. That's not good for our offense.
Yeah, it's not. And I'm glad you kind of brought up some of that because we're talking about two teams who statistically match up in the bottom half of every stat that we don't want to see us in. So this game itself has the potential to either be a super sloppy game for both squads, or B, it could be like a blast just to watch just either team, kind of do what they need to do. And like you mentioned, the development process is there. We need to see it continue on. We just need to see a cohesive game throughout the entire play, offense and defense wise, because it's just getting to that point where it's gotten to that point where we've seen week over week where one side of the ball step up and play, the other side not step up and play. So we just need to see that full 4 quarters of each personnel out there playing their best. Because again, looking at some of these numbers, I think what we're ranked, we are allowed like 20 points a game. It's like 21st in the league versus or versus New England. They're averaging 16 points a game, which is the bottom of the league. Points allowed per game. I think we're at 22.8 versus them at 23.5. I mean, so it's like, and I could go down the list all day long, but it's just a very sloppy stats for both teams. Neither one of them looks good. So I think any kind of glimmer of hope for either team while they play is always just a great thing for morale for what we have going on right now.
Yeah, the Colts are inconsistent, like you were saying. Offense, defense, we switch who's bad every week. So last week, I mean, at everyone saw offensive line has to play better. I was reading a stat off PFF that Richardson was pressured on 43.3% of his dropbacks and completed just 1 of 12 attempts for 9 yards, averaging zero point 0.8 yards per attempt. I I mean, luckily, he didn't take a sack that game. And there were a lot of plays where he just had to chuck the ball out of bounds, which I believe he should do. Of
Yeah, yeah.
course, that's gonna, wreck his completion percentage, which is already, in the bottom of the league. But good news, I would say, for our offensive line is I'm not really worried about New England's pass rush. It's a step down from Detroit's pass rush, I think.
Mm-hmm.
But I will say, if this offensive line can't play any better than it did last week, I mean, Quentin Nelson had probably one of his worst games of his career. It can still be a long game. I mean, these are NFL defensive linemen. Battle of the trenches. It always comes down to that. And I think the second thing would be is, those penalties from last week. We had 10, very undisciplined of this team because we're only averaging about almost 6 penalties per game. So we're hitting that, double that number. And even, before that, we were among the top 10 lowest penalized teams in the league. I mean, we still are, but we were probably in the top 5 before that last game where we added 10 to our average. Just need to get back to playing a well put together football team play. Which I don't think we've seen much of this year, but I don't know. We saw a good bit of it last year. Josh Downs is probably not going to play. Looks like Tanner Bortolini is questionable as well. Ryman's questionable. Doolin's questionable. It's back to having more injuries.
Yep, it's the same story we've been hearing all year. Which stinks. It was stinks. And Josh Downs obviously our playmaker on the field. I think he gets us out of a lot of binds we get in, a lot of pickles we get in. So it's going to be interesting to see what the dynamic will be, especially if he doesn't play. But I guess my biggest thing that I had to think about for this one is if any reason that the Colts lose this week, if they don't have if Chris Ballard is allowed on that plane back.
Oh,
if he is allowed on that plane back,
man.
There is zero reason why this team should be losing to the Patriots. We're not good, but they're not good either.
Will firing Chris Ballard fix the season?
No, it'll make me sleep better at night. Make my blood pressure go down. Probably make me more inclined to swipe to enter my card information on the websites for my season ticket. It's just like a slew of things that'll help make me better, make me feel better in life. But no, it will not change the dynamic of the team.
Probably right. I think a lot of fans would agree with you there. But it is what it is. Like some of our pass catchers, they have bricks for hands right now. Firing Chris Ballard ain't gonna fix that.
No.
And like you said, losing our playmaker Josh Downs is gonna hurt us. But I thought we were gonna save our Chris Ballard episode for the right.
No, I just had to throw a jab at him. That's all. I just throw him a little left jab. You know how it goes.
Oh man,
how it goes. But no, for real though. I mean, like you mentioned earlier, the penalties can't be there. The offense line has to play well. Our defense has to show up too, and just can't let the Pats capitalize on those chunk plays. I mean, I don't expect there to be a ton, but Ramondre, I mean, he can turn it up when he needs to. So we don't need to see him out there just kind of dominating. I've seen him obviously a couple games this year. He's had some phenomenal games, but he's also been a good pass catcher as well. So I want to make sure that we're able to lock him down as needed and kind of just control the game is really what we need to do, because the Colts do an excellent job of playing down to the level or playing up to the level. I don't know how much the Patriots do that, but it always scares me whenever I see a team roll in that's kind of subpar or we roll into their house, because I can always just imagine that we're not going to come out aggressive. We need to come out aggressive the entire time on the offense side of the ball and just plan, like, and I know it's obviously not possible to score on every drive, but plan to drop 28, 32 points or whatever the case is, and then you play like that the entire game rather than planning to just stay at a comfortable spot. Because I think it's one of those things where when it's easy, I don't know, it's hard because it's a double-edged sword. If you're down or if the game is close, then I feel like it's easier for people to try to play consistent, to not try to make mistakes because they don't want to get in a spot where you're down by more or now all of a sudden the game is tied. Versus when you're up by a lot, sometimes I think the play can get sloppy because you're like, oh, we got a bigger buffer here, so we don't have to necessarily worry about, you know, if we make a mistake. So you can get kind of lazy with some of the things you do and allow for bigger plays to happen. I just need the Colts to play like they're up, but also keep in mind that they can still be aggressive. I don't know how that makes sense, but that's just the mindset you kind of have to have, because I just truly feel like whenever this team takes a step back and we just play to the level, oh, again, whether that be good or bad, we try to figure out a way just to squeak through instead of still remaining in control. And that's I think has been the biggest issue. When you lose control, that's when all of a sudden the wheels fall off, and one bad play now is a big deal. Now that third and 3 that you didn't get is a big deal. Well, some of these things could have been avoided here earlier had you continued to play with the same aggression, a progressive aggression with a little bit of liberalness in there. I don't know. And again, I know that's kind of like just rambling and something that's pretty much almost impossible, I'm sure, for a team to do. But I think that when you game plan, you have to have that aggressive game plan with you, and then know that you can taper that thing down when needed, as opposed to trying to game plan to be in contention and then have to say, "Oh shoot, we're in trouble. Let me ramp this thing up." I'd rather come out heavy and then be like, "All right, we can tone it back a little bit," rather than just being like, "All right, let's come out like a days of cold." Then we continue to roll with the punches until we need to step it up a bit.
Yeah. So I wonder if that kind of ties into the fact that we play. I mean, it seems like every win or loss we've had, I mean, except the Detroit Lions loss,
Mhm.
it's come down to a one possession game. It always is. So we're either playing from behind, or playing catch up, or barely having that lead where it's very tight. So yeah, I mean, I would agree. I think our defense needs to have a really good game.
Yeah.
I know we talked about it last episode, or at least I did, that I think this linebacker group hasn't been the same ever since Shaq and Okereke
Mhm.
left the building. I think we're giving up way too many easy completions in the middle of the field, particularly the short yardage plays. Gus Bradley, big cover 3 guy, so we're seeing a lot of single high safety looks. So that really, in the middle of the field, that's really going to have the linebackers have a lot of space to cover, especially with it's usually only 2 of them out there. I just don't think we have that elite talent at that position group to kind of make up
Mhm.
for the schematic difference. They're not amazing in pass coverage. I think we can all agree there.
Yeah.
Their run defense is way better than their pass coverage. Most of the time, EJ Speed and Zaire, they're making plays and on 4th and short, 3rd and short, in the run defense game, but you don't ever see them making plays in the passing game. And I like I said last episode, I don't want to knock them there, but I think Gus Bradley needs to recognize that a lot of things are easy in that sector.
Mhm.
But really, I'm looking for DeForest Buckner to be the X factor here. Dominate the interior. You got that godlike swim move. Let's disrupt Drake Maye in this offense. Drake May's looked pretty good as a rookie, I will say. He's having to carry a lot of load for this team, because they have weaknesses in a lot of departments, but
Mhm.
if we can get to that man, just like, if we can protect Anthony Richardson, give him time to do what he does, he's going to make big time plays. Same with Drake May. If we give him enough time, it's going to be a bad day. So let's get this pass rush working. Latu. I want to see that man step it up again. But Buckner, just beating them in the interior. His pass rush win rate's pretty high
Yep.
as a defensive interior lineman. So I'd love to see him have a really good game, like a 2-sack game, with about like 8 pressures. Like that's why I got his jersey.
It can happen. That man's different. I think he has like 4.5 sacks over the past 7 games or something like that. He's been balling. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, anytime when he's in his bag, it just makes life easier for everybody. That's a big presence, and to come at a quarterback in the backfield there, so he can kind of make a big make or break for the squad. So I love to see him dominate there as well.
Yeah. So what's your score prediction?
Score prediction: Colts. I don't know. For some reason, I just feel like this is going to be a lower scoring game. So I'm gonna say Colts 21. Um, Pats. Pats are gonna muster up. I'm gonna give them 17. 21-17.
Okay. I'm gonna go with Colts 27, Pats 17. Yeah, I'll
Okay.
give the Pats 17. I think they'll, against this Gus Bradley defense, they will
Yeah.
muster up some type of touchdown or
They'll find
two.
some soft spots for sure.
Yeah, there's gonna be Bradley at some point, because once we get up, he's gonna start playing the scheme where no explosive plays, but we'll bend.
Yeah.
So we'll give up those 10-yard chunks, and they'll drive down the field for a couple, 1 or 2 touchdowns, maybe hit a field goal or two. But I
Mhm.
think the Colts will get it done, and we are going to get back to where we should be, 500, and
Mhm.
we we are going to ride that 500 line for the rest of the season, baby. Let's get it.
Typical Colts fashion right there. Typical fashion.
Yeah, that's all I got.
That's it.
And that's going to be it for us, everyone. Thank you for listening to the Colts Cast. We're live on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or any platform you use to listen to podcasts. We'll be back next time to give you some more Indianapolis Colts content. Y'all take care.
Make it easy.